Hey everybody. Sorry, there's always a delay on my desktop for when it tells me I'm live or when I'm actually live. So I always try to pause a little bit in the beginning to make sure that I'm actually live and nothing gets cut off. But anyway, good morning. Wanted to talk to you guys today about the importance of connection. I shared with you, one of the things that's so great about a group like this is the ability to connect with people who have similar struggles. And I want to thank everybody who has shared your story so far. I know that's not always easy to do, but in doing so, it gives other people help and it gives them hope. But it also gives you the opportunity to be supported by others. And most often, you'll hear other people say, "Me too, me too." So that's the good thing about telling your story, sharing about the past. But it got me thinking a couple things. One, I want to reiterate the importance of connection. You can learn a lot from this group. I can teach you and will teach you about nutrition, why it's important, why specifically low carb and keto helps you with your compulsive and emotional eating. Why certain foods, even in any amounts, are harmful for you, and why other foods are healing for you. I can teach you all that. I will teach you about eating disorders. I'll teach you about the difference in compulsive and emotional eating and understanding that about yourself, and that knowing that, understanding the very specific things about yourself, how that will help you address and change that. I'll be teaching you about how to overcome the voice of sabotage that's in your head, the thing that drives you to continue in behaviors that are harmful for you. All that is coming this month. But the reason connection is so important is because connection's actually the opposite of addiction. And believe it or not, maybe you haven't wanted to call what your food issues are addiction. If you go and look at the header at the top of this group, read the dictionary definition of addiction. One of my favorite synonyms that it has up there for addiction is enslavement. When I think about what food did to me, my inability to change the thing I knew that I needed to change, the thing I wanted to change, enslavement's the perfect word for that. And it's really hard for some people to call what they deal with addiction, because you think about other addictions that people have. But truly, anything that you are enslaved to, a thing that you cannot change, a compulsion, something that you want to change and you can't. You just keep finding yourself. You say you're not going to, and then you do the very thing that you said you weren't going to do. That is an addiction. Well, the opposite of addiction, a lot of people would say, is sobriety. And I'm here to tell you the opposite of addiction is connection. And I've experienced this over and over and over. I've worked with thousands of people, hundreds of people, and spent thousands of hours teaching people about this. And I will tell you, the people who stay the most connected are the ones who heal the most. The people who disconnect or refuse to connect are in their addiction. So truly, connection is the opposite of addiction. So I really encourage you to connect here, whatever your personality is. We're all different. Find a way to connect in the group. So that's so important. The next thing I want to talk about, just reading through, I gave you a little bit of my history. If you want to listen to some of the podcasts I've been on to talk, it more in depth about my history with eating disorders and my weight and mental health issues, you can watch some of those podcasts or listen to some of those podcasts. It's in the featured section of this group. But here's the thing. When we go through and we start to tell our story, what I read a lot is regret. And a lot of the regret comes from having periods of time in the past where you actually had success. Many of you have tried a ketogenic diet before. You've tried low carb, or you've been free for periods of time, and you somehow along the way, something happened. Either it was a slow fade where you fell for one lie, like it's only going to be tonight, and then it turned into a spiral that turned into a long period of time of relapse into that old behavior, or something traumatic happened in your life and you fell back into this old behavior, or or you went back to the thing that had soothed you in the past. And first, I want to say that's normal and natural. In times of extreme stress, we are extremely vulnerable to going back to something that has soothed us in the past. But again, going back to the original point, a lot of you have regrets because at one point or at some point in your journey, you were better than you are today. And there's regret, there's grief, there's disappointment, there's shame attached to that. I'm reading that in the things that you post. So I want to encourage you today to take a different approach. Your past is your past, and yes, there's things to be learned from it. You can look at it, but I encourage you today to start this journey as its own thing. I don't care if you've been successful in the past. I don't care if you've lost weight in the past. I don't care what happened in the past. And you've got to let that go. You can't say, but when I did keto before, or when I tried low carb before, or when I had success before. Take this journey with me as an entirely new experience. I'm not saying throw everything you know out the window. I'm saying start this now. Wherever you are in the process, start now where you are and see this as its own journey, not the continuation of something that you did before. So if you're like, well, I've been on this journey for 5 years and I had success at, 3 years and then I got off plan and I gained, forget all that. Put that behind you and say, today, right now, this month of August is a new journey for me. That is my past, and this is my present, and my future is coming, and I'm ready to start a new journey. You can take the wisdom of the past with you, but you have to let go of what was. And I got to tell you, what happens in the future is always better than the past. Don't look back to that. Don't wish and regret and have shame about what you let go. Just know that at some point in that process, it broke down and didn't work. If it had worked, if whatever you were doing really did work and you had the answers, you would still be doing that and you would not have had a period of relapse. You wouldn't be where you are. So again, I'm encouraging you, take this as its own new journey. Don't compare it to what you've done in the past. Take now for now. In fact, I think it's really cool. August is the 8th month of the year, and biblically, the number 8 is the number of new beginnings. And so I love that that lines up, that we're doing this back to basics group on really just getting down to what is the problem, how do I fix that forever. But you've got to let go. Let go of the past, let go of the shame. Start this brand new, totally new. And that kind of like bleeds into the next thing I wanted to talk about, which is goal setting. I'm a person who doesn't like resolutions. I also don't like really huge, complicated, lofty goals that have a million different points attached to them. I say I don't like that, but that's not really true. I'm a very driven person. In the past, before I was well, I would make huge goals and I would hit them hard. I would make 10 different goals and I would go crazy, and I would use my willpower and I would make them happen for a period of time, and then nothing. And then I would fall apart and things would be worse than they ever were. What I have learned, and the reason that I don't like goals like that now, is that they are always temporary. Those things are always temporary. The truth is, taking one thing, the one thing that will make the biggest difference in your life, and focusing on it and changing it will bring you lasting change and peace. So that's the kind of goal I'm going to encourage you to make. So when we're talking about goal setting for this month, I want you to spend some time thinking about what is your biggest issue. And I know you may have several, but I want you to think about where you are today, forgetting the past, starting exactly where you are right now. Maybe you're on a long streak of being successful, but you're stuck. Maybe you're not really stuck, but you're ready to experiment and get to the next level. You're ready to change something. Maybe you're completely off the rails. You're, eating foods that harm you. You haven't been able to put together 2 days of eating well, and you're just completely devastated. It's okay. Right now, Start where you are. What I would encourage you to do is make a goal based on what you want to see by the end of the next 30 days. And so I would not go anywhere beyond the very basic thing. If right now you're completely off plan, let's say you have been eating all kinds of stuff and you're just in the food, my goal would be, my written out goal would be, I will only eat foods that nourish me for the next 30 days. And you might want to talk about fasting. You might want to talk about, how much protein, how much fat. You're not ready for that. It doesn't matter. There's no amount of control that you can have through fasting or tracking or controlling your macros that are going to fix the problem that you have. If you are unable to go for a period of time and not eat foods that cause your body harm, that is your one goal. And again, you may feel compelled to make it more. I'm going to tell you to pull back. If you don't have that, you can't layer on any of the other things. So that's one example. So that's what I'm saying. If you are off plan, if you are eating foods that harm you, meaning bad oils, grains, sugar, things that actually cause physical harm to your body, that would be my one goal this month. In the featured section, right at the top of the page where it says featured, if you scroll across, there is a food list, and it is divided into fats, protein, vegetables. It's pretty inclusive. I would start there. So if your goal is, I'm not going to eat foods that harm me, or I'm only going to eat foods that nourish me, I like the positive side of that. I'm only going to eat foods that nourish me, meaning I'm not going to eat foods that harm me. Start with that list. Say, I know for sure this list is, every food on this list is not going to harm me, it's going to nourish me. I would print that out. Take that list, mark out things you don't like. You don't need to start to try to eat foods you don't like. Just pick the ones you do. I wouldn't worry about the time of day that you're eating. I wouldn't worry about the number of meals to start with. I would just make that simple goal of, I'm going to eat this, not this. When a craving hits, I'm going to eat this. When I'm hungry, I'm going to eat this. And yes, you might need to deal with emotional eating, but if you're eating off plan, first you've got to get that junk out of your system, and you can only do that by swapping out what you're eating for these other things, not limiting quantity or any of that. And I got to tell you, it works. It's uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable to kind of just submit to that and give yourself that freedom to eat as much as you need to of those foods, but it is the way to start. Having done this with hundreds and hundreds of people, it works better long term to give yourself the freedom to eat as much as you need to of those foods rather than eating the junk foods that you've been eating or the harmful foods that you've been eating. So that's one thing. So maybe you are someone who has recognized that your biggest issue is that you eat at night. You go all day long and you eat healthy, or you feel in control of your food, and then at night you binge. And maybe it's on healthy foods. Maybe you're binging on keto foods. You know that you're not truly hungry necessarily, but you eat because you're sitting in front of the TV, or you eat because it's stressful in your house. Whether it's an emotional reason or a compulsive reason, you're struggling with eating at night. Then your one goal right now for the month should be, I'm not eating food after this period of time, or I will end my eating at this hour. And once you decide what your goal is, we can talk about the structure around it. How do I make that happen? But in that case, you want to say, I'm going to set up a specific time where I'm done eating. And some of the structure around that goal is sort of what I have to say next. And it loops back around to connection. And that is, share what your goal is. And one of the best ways to achieve it, you'll notice some people that have been in the group for a while, they come in the morning and they say what they're going to do for the day. Starting each day with an intention, for example, what I just said, starting each day and saying, you know what, I am going to stop eating by 6 o'clock today. Telling the group that rallies support for you. It means you're starting the day off already intending to do the right thing. It is like your likelihood of not eating at night when you have stated that and you've said it to a group of people who have your back and want to see you succeed, it's exponentially higher. So that is one of the things you can do. If your goal is to stop eating at a certain time, it's commit to it, tell the group the goal, and then daily come in and reiterate that. It's okay if you say the same thing every day. I'm only going to eat foods that nourish me, and I'm going to stop eating at 6 o'clock today. It works. It truly, truly does work, because connection keeps you out of your addiction. I'm addicted to eating the food at night. I can't stop myself. I feel compelled. I feel enslaved to nighttime eating. Connection, opposite of addiction. So maybe you don't have a problem eating at night, but maybe your problem is maybe you never eat off plan. You eat all foods that are healthy for you, but you overeat them, or you eat when you're not hungry. You're eating all day long. You're eating in response to every emotion. So again, if that's where you are, your goal should be set up around that. And maybe you need some parameters around your eating. Maybe that's when you look in the featured section, the same area that has that list of food. There's also a couple of other plans. One of them is real aggressive. It's like 2 meals a day, and it limits certain things. The other one is more open. Maybe you do need some structure around your eating, and what you're committing to is, if you're eating all day long, let's say you're eating 6 times a day, you just say, my goal is to eat 3 meals with nothing in between, only foods that nourish me. So start where you are, and we're going to dig deep into the difference in compulsive eating and emotional eating and the reasons why you do each, so you can address that. But you still, before you even get to that, you need to start off with a sense of the one thing that you want to change and need to change the most. And I encourage every single one of you, state what that is. State what it is. There's some veterans in this group. Again, you could see there's some people that posted that have now been free, they're clean, they're still working through their next things, but they can even help you too. When you're in the beginning and you're struggling, you need the advice of people who have been right where you are, not just me, but others in this group. That's what I love about it. Everybody's in a different place, but we're all here to help each other, and again, that's the beauty of connection also. So today, what I'm encouraging you to do, very strongly encouraging you to do, is think about what is the biggest issue that you have. What is the biggest issue? Is it not eating on plan? Is it, a certain time of day? Is there a pattern? I know some of you, here's another one, a couple of you, I think it was Michelle, had said she gets basically weekend mentality. She does well all week, and then weekend mentality is an issue. That right there would be the one thing, right? Like the goal would be, I'm going to make it through 7 days and only eat foods that nourish me. And coming here in the group and committing on whether it's Friday night that your eating off plan starts, but coming here and saying, listen, I usually at 6 o'clock on Friday night start a binge or start eating off plan and it lasts all weekend. That's the thing that you change. You say, I'm not doing that. I'm coming in and I am going to actually commit to doing that. I'm staying on plan. And sometimes staying on plan, you might still know in your heart that you're eating in response to emotion. You can layer that in later. You can fix emotional eating later. That's a different layer of healing. Staying on plan is the most important thing, just getting all the junk out of your system, because your mind and your body are not going to operate well. You're not going to be able to think clearly and make your best decisions until you have cleaned, detoxed your body. And again, I'll talk more about that. I could just talk all day long. There's so much to tell you. But today it's about acknowledging the biggest issue, the one biggest issue. And if you're not on plan, that's the biggest one. And level setting, If your biggest issue is emotional eating and you're eating many, many times a day, or if maybe your issue is binging, state what that is and let's come up with a goal so that at the end of the month you can say, yes, I did this. And again, you can always layer in the next thing. You're going to learn about the next steps regardless, but you need to focus on the one thing. So hope that is helpful. Stay connected. Also want to let you know you can ask me anything. And I'm saying this not just to be funny, it's just who I am. So I am a nutritionist, but I'm also a life coach. I coach lots of people. I actually do financial coaching too. I do a lot of different things. And I always say anything I know is yours. You have access to it. So if you have a question about nutrition and it's not something that I've talked about yet, maybe it's on the list, it's something I'm going to cover, but you specifically have a question like, hey, you know, why is bread bad for me? Or what do you think about fruit? Ask that question, make a post, ask it, and tag me. And that's a really good thing because I will answer all those questions. It doesn't have to be part of a topic that I talk about that day. Sometimes I'll say, listen, I'm going to cover this in depth on our call. But a lot of times I can just give you information, or maybe it's something I wasn't going to cover, and then that helps educate other people too. So ask here in the group, and that actually helps expand conversation. It helps more people learn. I want to tell you everything I know, but I've been studying nutrition for over 6 years, so I know a lot. And so anyway, you can ask me about, you know, anything to do with eating disorders. You can ask me about behaviors, but you can also ask me anything about nutrition. You can ask me about makeup. You can ask me about, like I said, anything that you think is affecting your journey. You can ask me about anything that you have realized that I have knowledge of, and I am happy to share that with you. So it is not just isolated to the things that I choose to put on our agenda. So looking forward to getting to know all of you better and just really digging into this. Simplify, make that goal today. Don't put it off. If you need help with what your goal should be, again, post in the group and ask, and we can work through that. And again, that might help someone else establish what their goal is, because they probably have the same question. So anyway, hope y'all have a great day. I'll be checking back in here throughout the day in between clients. And thanks a bunch. Looking forward to a really awesome month of brand new beginnings, brand new journey for you, leaving the past behind, pressing on to bigger and better things, and most of all, healing and freedom. Have a good day.